So I just did a couple joints with my oxyacetylene torch kit. Um, a little out of practice. My upside down joint here got a little bit of runoff, but it happens. But the practice makes perfect. The more you do it, the cleaner it will come out. In my apprentice days, that one right there would have took like about a half an hour. But so that is the oxyacetylene torch kit. Now I'm going to go ahead and set up my turbo torch. So here's my turbo torch. I'm going to go ahead and open my tank. So the tank's open. So this regulator is a little bit different than the one on the oxyacetylene torch kits. So the way I set it up is once my tank is open, then I'll go ahead and open up the knob to my torch. And right now, I don't have any acetylene flowing right now. And the reason being is that I didn't adjust my regulator yet. So I usually open that up first, and then I'll start opening. Boom. Now I got pressure. Back it off. I lose pressure. As soon as I turn the regulator, again, it's going to put pressure on that diaphragm. It's going to allow the acetylene to flow. So I'm going to go ahead and add some acetylene. Now I got some flow. So now I'm going to go ahead and light this torch. And I'm going to go ahead and do this next joint. So this one might take a little bit longer, but it still gets hot enough for the brazing rods to flow. And when you're brazing, what's melting, the main thing that's melting the rod is the metal itself. It's not about melting the rod with the flame. You want to heat the metal up enough so that when the brazing rod makes contact with my copper, it'll start to flow. So right now it's still not ready. So it takes a little bit longer than the oxyacetylene setup. Okay, now it's starting to flow. I don't know if you can see that, but it's starting to flow. And then you can work. I usually like to start with a nice glob of solder on the top. And then once I get a nice glob of it on there, I'll use the flame and I'll work it around like a paintbrush, because that solder is going to go where the flame goes, as long as it's melted. Once that solder becomes liquid, it's going to go wherever your flame goes. So I'm gonna put some more on this side. And so my bond is formed, and now I'm just being meticulous, and I want to make it look a little smoother. There we go. There we go. So yeah, my joints usually come out cleaner with the turbo torch. Do one more joint down here. And again, our bond is formed, and now I'm just making it look pretty, in my opinion. So now that joint is done. And now before we go, let me just turn that a little bit. I'm gonna go ahead and damn. All right. Anyway. All right. Need my heartbeat to go back to normal. I'm gonna go ahead and turn this over so I can do that bottom joint, and I'm gonna do that one with the Stay Bright 8 and my map gas torch. So got my channel locks here. Go ahead and flip that over. Okay, so when I was prepping it, I put my flux on this joint, on the male end. I put it on the male end, put it inside the female, and now it's ready to go. But what I like to do, so I like to buy this bottle. It comes with a little brush attached to the top. So I use the brush to put my initial flux on the pipe. But one of the cool things about Stay Bright 8 is once it's melted, once that soft solder it becomes liquid, you can actually use some flux, put some flux on this brush, and you can actually use this to spread the solder while it's still wet. You can spread it like paint, and it'll literally, it'll make your connection look that much cleaner and smoother. So that's a little trick that I love to use when I'm doing the Stay Bright 8 is I always keep a second brush. The reason I use a separate brush, a second brush, is because the one that goes in, this one goes back into the can, when you're done, because it's attached to the top. So I don't like to let that one touch the hot metal because the bristles will burn, and then you'll have all these little black burnt pieces inside of your flux, making it dirty. So I usually get an extra brush because I'm going to burn it up, and so I usually get a bundle of these, and they're super cheap. I don't even know how much they cost. They're like a few cents each. So I usually get a bunch of them, and when I'm brazing, I'll pull out a clean one, and this will be for after. So this is before I braze, and then I'll pull this one out for after just to smooth it out. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. And this is the easiest of them all. All you do, there's no regulators to deal with. You don't even need a striker. You simply open up the tank, gas is flowing, and you pull your trigger. And you keep pulling your trigger. And you do need to use a striker now. I swear that never happens. So, get your solder. Should have had my solder ready already. You're gonna heat that joint up, just like you did with the other torches. I'm gonna put some more solder on there so you can get a better look at how it'll spread. So that glob right there, gone. Spread like paint. So that's why I like the soft solder. It goes a lot quicker. It's a little messy because it's so thin, it just kind of splashes like water. Also, I was using extra so I could try to get that glob to form so I can demonstrate how you can spread it. But normally I would have stopped before that point. But all these joints are now sealed. Another tool you're gonna need in the field when you don't have the luxury of sitting the entire system in a little vise and being able to access all different parts of it, sometimes you'll have to pull out your inspection glass or your inspection mirror so you can see all the angles of your joint and make sure that you didn't leave any gaps, you didn't miss any areas that needs some solder on there. And then once you're done with that, you can call it good. Once you've done your visual inspection, then the next thing you're going to want to do is pressurize your system with nitrogen and check for leaks. So I'll do that in another video. I'll actually pressurize this little project. Pull that out. So that's why I like to use these little braze tees on these projects, because you can connect your hoses to that and actually charge this little project with nitrogen and then leak check each joint. So I also have my little bucket of water here. I'm gonna go ahead and cool this thing off. Got a rag somewhere around here. So my joints are all done. Let me grab a rag. So they're all done, and they were all used or done using different methods. So I believe it was this joint here and this joint here were done with the oxyacetylene torch kit. So you can see how those joints came out. This one here was done with the turbo torch. So oxyacetylene and then turbo torch. So that's the turbo torch one. This one was also done with the turbo torch. And then another reason why I like Stay Bright 8 is because this one was done with Stay Bright 8. So it just looks much nicer. It's got that shiny look to it. It doesn't look all burned up like the Brazing rods look. However, all these joints are sealed. They formed a perfectly good bond. They'll hold the pressure of your system. So they all work. They just have different temperatures and, which gives you kind of different speeds on each joint. But they all work. They all serve the same purpose. That is my little project. On the next video, I'll go ahead and pressurize this with nitrogen and leak check it. All right. Hope that was helpful. Enjoy your day.